thank you guys for being understanding of me not going into total detail of everything that happened during that time. But I did want to share with you guys the good news that I'm on. Hello my friends. Okay, so this is something that I've wanted to share with you guys for a while now, but I haven't because it's just something that's really hard for me to talk about at all. I have a lot of traumatic memories surrounding this, and so it has been a while since I've actually gotten off of steroids. I know in videos in the past I've talked about adrenal insufficiency, and I was dependent on steroids for at least a year and a half. For many months of that time, I was having episodes of adrenal crisis like symptoms every single day, every night, and it's something I haven't talked about a lot. I haven't gone into detail about this because it's just hard for me to talk about, and it's something that I'm really probably not going to be sharing the whole story with you guys. Their experiences that I've had in the hospital and things that I have gone through that I just don't feel like I can share. Basically, after my tethered cord surgery, I was not able to come off of steroids because of extremely severe symptoms that I was having from coming off of the steroids that would improve after starting them again. And it was not something that was minor, it was not something that was bearable, or else I would have just come off the steroids. Anyways, I'm off of the steroids, which is a really good thing because steroids suppress your immune system when you're fighting a serious chronic infection. That obviously is not a good thing. For people with conditions like chronic Lyme disease or other chronic infections or autoimmune diseases, often steroids will suppress symptoms in the short term, but they will suppress your immune system, which can make the chronic infection completely rage. And so it's a double-edged sword, and it's something that my personal Lyme doctor does not like to use unless it's absolutely necessary. Anyways, I was diagnosed with adrenal insufficiency by a doctor, but I don't have adrenal insufficiency any longer. I very slowly tapered off of steroids over a course of months. This was something that I felt like was the right thing to do for me. It's not something that I'm advising for anyone else that's on steroids. Obviously, you know your body best and you know what's best for you. I felt like I needed to get off of them to be able to fight my chronic infections and get well again. I'm very thankful to not be dependent on steroids anymore. I'm thankful that I was able to get off of them, but it was a scary process. And before I started tapering, in the worst of the months that I was taking the steroids, I had a phase where I was having, like I said before, adrenal crisis like episodes every single day, multiple times a day often, and it was terrifying, and it was just completely unbearable. And as somebody who has had multiple neurosurgeries and debilitating illnesses for years and life-threatening infections, it really didn't compare to how excruciating those nights and days and months were. And it's hard to put into words like what it felt like and what I went through, and I know that it's not something that I have to describe to anyone, but it really felt like I was dying. But in a way, when I would have those episodes, I could feel God's presence. I could feel Him cling on to me, and often Jake and my family would be just praying for me to get relief from those episodes, and it typically didn't come when we wanted it to come. And every moment just feels unbearable, that is just really hard. I could feel God with me every step of the way through those experiences. Of course, those memories I don't like to look back on, but I treasure feeling so close to God in those moments of indescribable suffering. And I'm really thankful to not have those types of episodes anymore while I'm still very sick and have lots of struggles to face right now. It's so much better. Thankful that I don't feel fearful to fall asleep at night because of the symptoms that I'll be woken up with. I know a lot of this might not make a lot of sense because I haven't gone into a lot of detail about what was happening during those times and why it was happening, but it really made me treasure the moments where I felt safe in my own body, because that's something that I have struggled with a lot in my chronic illness journey, is just feeling so unsafe in my own body because of the pain and the symptoms, and just how difficult it was just to get through each day. And it still is difficult, but it's not to such an emergent level. At some point when I was on steroids, my face kind of swelled up, and you can probably see that in some of my past videos, and that has since gone down. But it was just interesting because sometimes when people would see a picture of me and see like my face swollen, they would say, "Oh, you look so much better," and in reality I was barely surviving. And I think that stemmed from the fact that I was underweight, and even though I really didn't gain much weight below my face at the time, people thought that like my face looked fuller and healthier, but in reality like things were really bad. And so God led us through that time. My thoughts on it are that I maybe did not have adrenal insufficiency, and that my chronic infections were just so severe that when I was given steroids, it suppressed my immune system. It caused the infection to rage, and at that point the steroids would suppress my symptoms temporarily, but it would also make the infection rage. So it was like a vicious cycle where I needed to have the steroids to function and quite possibly stay alive. But there was something that's ultimately, you know, was not good for my body. And when I talked to my Lyme doctor about this, he was so compassionate and understanding because he had dealt with severe Lyme and Bartonella like I have, where he was bedbound, and also said that every day he felt like he was gonna die, and so he could relate to some of the things that I was experiencing. And when I would explain to him the symptoms that would come on in between steroid doses, he was like, "Oh yeah, like I completely believe you, and I don't doubt that it was that severe. If you need them, you need them, but we're gonna try to get off of them safely." So it's just crazy to me what steroids can do in the presence of serious chronic infection. Anyways, I was looking back through my phone today to look at some notes of like if I had written down any of my thoughts during that time. Then I found this note that we had tracking all my steroid dosages, and it kind of made my chest get a little bit tight because it's something that I've just kind of tried to push out of my mind just because it was so hard to process. So yeah, that's just a little bit of my experience with coming off of steroids after a year and a half. I don't have those episodes in the middle of the night anymore or during the daytime. Sometimes they would happen during the day too. And I'm so thankful for that because those times were some of the scariest times in my experience with chronic illness. So yeah, thank you guys for being understanding of me not going into total detail of everything that happened during that time. But I did want to share with you guys the good news that I'm off steroids and celebrate that with you guys, because every day I'm thankful for that. It was another big step in my healing journey. Anyways, I hope you guys are all hanging in there. I'm always rooting for you and praying for you and wishing you the best. Sorry, this video was a little bit somber and raw, but I know it's important to share those things sometimes too. So yeah, with that, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will look forward to seeing you guys next time.